Whew. Greetings from steamy Central Texas. It's 4th of July weekend. It's hot, man. Who cares, right? It's 100, 101, 102. Who cares at this point? Anywho, I just finished mowing my lawn and I'm spraying a little bit of fertilizer, as you've seen me do before. I'm going to apply some micronutrients as well in that mix, but the big application today that I thought, this is a worthy topic to discuss is something that many of you maybe haven't heard of. It's called plant growth regulator, or more commonly known as PGR. It's pretty much what it sounds like. But we'll get into that a little more in a few beats. What I thought I would do to add to this video, aside from the spray application, is I thought I'd show you my lawn. Instead of showing you footage of me mowing, I thought I'd just kind of walk you through my lawn and show you the warts and all. And I did have some people in the previous video say, yeah, show more footage of your lawn. So I thought I would go ahead and do that today. So let me show you a little bit about what's going on here, what I'm dealing with. All right, guys, here we are in the front yard. Let's start here and I'll show you some of the things that I'm dealing with. Warts and all, right? So you can tell there's a little bit of a yellow hue to the lawn. I'm fighting the heat just like everybody else, guys. So it's there, but overall, it's looking okay. It's looking pretty decent. What I want to show you here also is that, and I'll throw in a shot here of what this looked like when I shot the first video. This was all dead and empty because of, the winter storms that we've had. Stuff dies back. But the reason I'm showing you this is because this is all stuff that came back. I didn't plant anything new. Over here, as far as the tree border, I am going to remove these stakes. I've been saying that to myself for about 4 or 5 weeks now. This tree here, this is a Shumard oak. This is not a tree that the builder planted. This is something I bought. So this was a tree that I planted, and I bought it pretty mature-ish. It was already a pretty big tree. I mean, I just planted it, like I said, 2, maybe 3 years ago. So, it didn't grow this much in 2 or 3 years. But because it was so tall when I bought it, I was worried that the winds, when we get those winds, that it would knock it over. And so I had them stake it. So these are going to come out here in the next few days or so. In this little strip over here, oh, and actually, let me show you this real quick. This is my biggest, ooh, it drives me nuts. Can you see the different grain of grass? Looks a little brighter than the rest. Looks like I'm being infested by a different type of grass. I've consulted my Turf Pro friends. They say something I just got to live with. So anyway, it kind of drives me a little nuts because the texture's different. Therefore, it looks different from the rest of the turf in my lawn. This strip over here, see a little bit of yellowing going on right there. I hope it's coming through in the camera, but I'm fighting heat, man. And this strip right here has heat from the cement on the sidewalk and the street. So this stuff tends to struggle a little bit more, but it's hanging in there right now. Anyway, let's go to the other side of the driveway. I'm not sure what happened here. Looks like maybe somebody was walking their dog and their dog pulled over and peed on my lawn. But this is looking okay. You can tell the flowers are struggling too. These are direct sunlight for most of the day. So anyway, they're struggling a little bit, but the grass is hanging in there. All right, let's go over to the backyard. All right, so as we get to the backyard, let me just kind of give you a pan here of the backyard. I'm sure the first thing you're noticing is those beautiful yellow pea spots all throughout the lawn. Let me talk about those real quick. So I have 2 dogs. We used to have 3. We lost one to cancer late last year, and that was our big girl. So we're left with the medium dog and the small dog. And I will say that in all the years we've had those dogs, which was a long time, a decade, the pea spots have never been this bad. So either the dogs, are getting older and their pee is, I don't know, different. Maybe it's just the heat, extreme heat, something. But the pea spots have never been this bad before. But it's all right. And I mean, whatever. It's grass, right? It'll grow back. That's the thing about these pea spots. They just kind of move. They move around. they'll grow back in, they'll green up, and then a new one will pop up somewhere else. This right here, this line you see here, it's when I ran a trench. I went out and rented a trencher at Home Depot and trenched a line so that I could run power from the house to the shed. And I did that really late in the season, and it didn't, the grass didn't have time to fill back in. And so this year it's been slowly creeping back in, and you can see there's some sand in there. That's because I've been sand capping this little area so that I can get some grass to grow in. And my understanding is that when you sand cap an area where grass is not growing in, it just kind of gives the grass something to grow into, like something to tack into. And another example of that is over here. I hadn't talked about this either. These trees here are native trees, and they're getting bigger and bigger, man, and they're beautiful. They make the backyard what it is, but Bermuda grass does not like shade. And so this area here where all these pavers are, grass was always really thin. So I thought, you know what? Let's put this shade to use. Instead of having ugly thin grass, let's set up a paver patio so we can sit out here and enjoy the backyard. And so, anywho, what I was going to say is that along the edge, you know, you're left with little holes that, you know, when we dug out the soil to put in the pavers because we set it into the ground. I went ahead and put in some sand and filled in those gaps with sand, and it's starting to fill in. Starting to fill in pretty nicely. Also, check this out. I went ahead and put in some steps too. Now we have some proper steps that kind of dress up the this part of the backyard, so pretty cool. So that's kind of what's going on in my yard, guys. People wanted to see the yard. Here it is, warts and all. I will tell you that I've seen some YouTube lawns in person, and guys, everybody's got warts. Everybody's got trouble spots. Let's get to the spray application. As I said at the beginning of the video, I am going to apply some fertilizer, some micronutrients, and really the star of the video, I guess, is the PGR, the plant growth regulator. But let's go ahead and start with the one that we've already used before, which is the ammonium sulfate. You saw me use this one in a video where I talk about nitrogen rates, which, by the way, that video will have a lot of information that I will probably just kind of skim in this application. So if you see something in this video and you kind of go, I'm not sure how you got that, watch that video, because in that one I kind of go into things in detail. So check that one out. But all right, let's go ahead and get to work with the ammonium sulfate. I am going to use the same rate that I used in that video, 1/2 pound. My front yard is 1,600 square feet. You just kind of convert that into a decimal number. So for me, 1,600 becomes 1.6. So if I get my phone and I take my application rate of 1/2 pound, right? 0.5 of a pound. 0.5 times 1.6, because that's my front yard, I get 0.8 pounds. And I said previously, you know, that's not 0.8 ounces. That ends up being 13 ounces. Again, I go into that in the video, how I got 13 ounces out of 0.8. It's really simple math. Anyway, I need to measure out 13 ounces of ammonium sulfate for my front yard. Remember, in general, we are going to use 1 gallon of water for every 1,000 square feet. So if I have 1,600, that's 1.6 gallons. All right, the next one we're going to add to our mix is Feature. These are the micronutrients, right? It's a micronutrient package. The big reason for using this one is because 10% of it is iron. And iron is really what we want to apply to our lawn to give it that little burst of green. Just kind of makes it pop. Now, it doesn't last very long, but it's something you could use when you've got an event coming up at your home and you want your lawn to look pretty sharp, like a birthday party or a barbecue, or in this case, 4th of July weekend. There'll be a lot of traffic on my street with people visiting the neighbors and stuff like that. So I want the lawn to look pretty sharp and pretty green. So I throw this in, and about a day or 2, 3 later, start to see the green kind of really pop. Like I said, it doesn't last very long, but it's got other micronutrients in it, which again, my soil test told me I need anyway. So it's a win, 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 win. Oh, and on this one, the rate is 1 to 2 ounces per every 1,000 square feet. I'm going to go right in the middle, 1.5 ounces per 1,000 square feet. So 1.6, size of my front yard, times 1.5, and I get 2.4 ounces of this for the entire front yard. There's 2.4 ounces. Makes it look like Kool-Aid. The powdery looks like Kool-Aid. Do people even use Kool-Aid or buy Kool-Aid anymore? No, right? And then, time for the star of the video. Here's my PGR. Now you're probably wondering like, wow, man, that's a pretty lame bottle. Yes, as I mentioned in the pre-emergent video where some of this spray stuff gets pretty expensive because it only comes in large quantities, this was no exception. I ended up splitting a bottle or a gallon with a buddy of mine that's also into lawn stuff. So this was the part that I got. I've already used some of it up, but this is the plant growth regulator, or PGR. The specific brand that I'm using is called T-Nex. And T-Nex is short for trinexapac ethyl. That's the active ingredient. So a little bit of information about plant growth regulators. So kind of like the name implies, it regulates growth. In this specific instance, what this plant growth regulator does is it slows down the rate at which your grass is growing. And obviously, a benefit of slowing down the rate means that you don't have to mow as much. And that's probably the biggest benefit that I think people see is that, oh, I don't have to mow as much when I'm using PGR. And there's truth in that. However, for me, I don't really mind the mowing, so it's never been a big deal. Now, real quick, that actually reminds me, I actually bought this 2 years ago. It just sat in storage, and I finally got enough courage to give it a shot and enough peer pressure from my friends. They're like, just do it, man, you're gonna love it. So the other benefits that you get from applying a PGR to your lawn is that because it's slowing down the growth, the plant still has energy that it needs to use up. And so what it ends up doing is it ends up promoting root growth. One thing that it also supposedly does is it makes more grass blades grow or more leaves grow, which makes the grass thicker. It's supposed to help with fighting off drought stress and fungus and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of pluses to using PGR, different strokes for different folks. For me, it wasn't about mowing less. I was intrigued by the idea that it's supposed to make the grass thicker. This is the first year that I'm using it. This will be my third application of PGR. And so far, I am liking it. It does get thicker and tighter. There's just more leaf material on the grass. So that for sure is happening. Now, there's one thing that I shouldn't fail to mention. Growing degree days, or GDDs. There's a lot of information out there on growing degree days, but there isn't one like source that you can go to where it just like explains it and says, this is the way it is. I guess the easiest way I can explain it is this. I'm no pro. I'm still new to PGRs, right? So I'm still figuring this out as I go. Here's my lame attempt at trying to explain in very generic terms what a growing degree day is. So a growing degree day is a unit of measurement. And when you accumulate enough of those growing degree days, you need to reapply your plant growth regulator to your grass. The reason is that when you do an application of plant growth regulator to your grass is using it up. And when it's done using it up, if it doesn't get more, that energy that's been stored because it's been slowing down the growth of the grass, right? That energy now just kind of explodes and the grass just grows like crazy. And they call that a rebound. What I've heard is that when it comes out of regulation, right, it's no longer under the PGR effect, it grows so fast that you find yourself mowing every day for about 5, 6, 7 days, something like that. And so what you do is you time out how long it's going to take for your grass to eat up an application of PGR. so that when your calculation tells you that it's used it up, then you reapply again. Well, that's why I'm applying today, because my growing degree day threshold has been met and I need to apply it today or tomorrow. It's not like I need to apply it now, go, 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 go. You know, it kind of ramps up. So there are several places online, and there are even apps that'll help you track your growing degree days. You put in the date that you applied your PGR, how much you applied, and then your app or whatever website you're using, they'll send you a notification on your phone, an email or something like that, to tell you, hey, you've used up your PGR application. That's the notification that I got yesterday. So I need to apply this today. So there's my attempt at trying to explain something that I'm still trying to understand myself, right? Now, the rate that I am going with is I am going with 0.125 ounces per 1,000 square feet. Okay, 0.125 ounces times my front yard. Again, it's 1.6, and I get 0.2 ounces. That's nothing, man. When you're talking something that small, you need a smaller tool to measure that amount with. The easiest thing I have found is you go to your grocery store, go to Walgreens or any drugstore, get yourself a syringe, usually those baby syringes. Unfortunately, I can only find these in milliliters. And what that means is that if I go to Google, you've seen me use Google for everything in the past, right? You see me go to Google, 0.2 ounces, and convert it to milliliters, 5.915 milliliters. So I'm going to go to 6 milliliters, right? Okay. How much is that? And I'm going to go right there. There's 6 milliliters. Put that into my mix. It's 4th of July weekend, man. What are you doing watching a lawn care video? Anywho, so I'm going to finish preparing this. I'm going to stir it a little bit. I'm going to strap on my backpack, and I'm going to spray my lawn. Be good to yourself, man. Be good to the people around you, and be good to your lawn. We'll see you later.